What's up, everybody? BTF Week 5. Here we are. Week 4 is in the books. Not the most exciting of weekends, but there's plenty of action, and I'm not complaining. It's college football. So, let's get into it. Starting off, Clemson showing that they might be an ACC contender. We haven't really seen a whole lot of Clemson. They've had some offense issues. Defense looks stout against Georgia Tech. Okay, Clemson has a huge game this weekend, and we'll get into that one a little bit later. Ole Miss showing bouncing back. They destroyed Georgia. Okay, Ole Miss, it's like, I don't know if they just couldn't finish some of these close games they had this year. Florida State came back on them. Alabama edged them. They took care of business against the Bulldogs. So is Georgia overrated, or is Ole Miss the real deal? Wisconsin, for real. Not ranked coming into the season. They rolled LSU. They rolled Michigan State. Wisconsin has a huge game this weekend. We'll talk about that later. But as far as I'm concerned, Wisconsin is it. They're a contender for the Big Ten right now, and they're playing some football. Texas A&M over Arkansas. The Aggies. We knew when Texas A&M joined the SEC that they were going to be legit. One, they're in Texas, and two, they're in the SEC now. So their recruits, they're just, it's Texas A&M and it's SEC football. So Texas A&M's got a shot to throw some wrenches in some gears here this year, and people should definitely be paying attention. But they took care of business with Arkansas. And if anybody watched the Tennessee-Florida game, karma is a bitch, and all the Florida players talking all that shit. Now who's talking shit? Tennessee, high five to you. Being a Virginia Tech diehard fan, I thought that we kind of gave you guys the game. You boys deserved it. You guys deserved to beat Florida. You played like a bunch of damn all-stars, and the Florida players kind of got a foot in their mouth now because they sounded stupid. Talking all that shit, and then you gonna give up 38 unanswered. Y'all look like some damn scrubs out there. Tennessee made y'all look like scrubs in Knoxville. That's week 4 in a bubble. Talk about some Heismans, some conference rankings, and we'll get into the huge week in week 5 we got. Your Heisman lineup hasn't changed a whole lot. I dropped Leonard Fournette out of my top Heisman picks. LSU's got some issues. They fired Les Miles. I mean, it's just a lot going on up there right now, or down there right now, and it is what it is. Okay, he's still, one of the best tailbacks in college football right now. He's just not getting yards because LSU's got some troubles on their team, and they need to figure it out. I know I picked LSU a couple years ago saying that this was going to be the year, and everybody else thought that this was going to be the year, and they just got too many issues. So I had to take Fournette out of my Heisman. Mr. Cook at Florida State, he showed that he is still the man. Okay, he had a huge game over the weekend against South Florida. He looked like his old self, and to me, I still have him in my Heisman picks. JT Barrett, Ohio State. I mean, you can't take this dude away. He's been quiet, but yet he's putting up yards, and he's the man, dude. Deshaun Watson at Clemson. Obviously, we've had some offense issues with Clemson so far this year, but now it looks like they're kind of ironing it out, and they're figuring everything, and their defense is playing lights out. At least they were against Georgia Tech, and they got a big game, so we'll see how good Clemson really is. McCaffrey at Stanford. The kid's legit. I mean, all around, maybe not the best tailback in the country, but all around player. He is number 1 in my book. He's a monster. I mean, you can't mess with him. Ward at Houston. They got a game against Connecticut tonight. They should be able to take care of business as far as that aspect goes, but it's Thursday night and it's college football, so who knows? Maybe they're going to sleep on Connecticut. I highly doubt it. Number 1 on top of the list, Lamar Jackson, okay, at Louisville. This kid, being a Virginia Tech guy, Mike Vick was arguably one of the top 5 greatest college football quarterbacks that we've seen, at least like electric, electric wise. He was exciting to watch. This kid at Louisville is legit. The dude is like number 5 in the country by himself for touchdowns, okay? And as a person, not as a team. And he's just doing big time things. And obviously he's at the top of the list and no one can compare with him right now. And that's just where that lies. We'll see this weekend. So let's rate some conferences and get into week 5. Conference rankings. Now, I know people have been talking about this since ever, okay? The SEC is the best conference in college football. This, that, and the other, this, that, and the other. I'm going to say this. I don't think that they're the best conference in college football as of right now, okay? An all-around conference is not them. Do they have the best team? Yes, I think Alabama is the best team in the country and that no one can play with them right now. However, the Big Ten is pretty solid, okay? Michigan's no joke. Ohio State's no joke. Obviously, Wisconsin's not a slouch. Michigan State's not a punk. Penn State's not a sleepy. You can't sleep on them. The Big Ten, as a whole, I think is the best conference in college football right now. I don't think that the SEC has, granted, yes, everyone's always on the SEC's ass, and they have all these teams in the top 25, whatever. I'm not buying the shit, okay? It's just because that's who they are, and I don't care that you play people week in and week out, because let's face this. Minus Tennessee, the SEC East is weak, okay? They're garbage. Georgia's a slouch. I don't care what anybody says they're a slouch. Florida's not that great. They haven't proven themselves to me. Vandy, okay. South Carolina, terrible. Besides for Tennessee, that's about it. And on the west side, Ole Miss can't decide whether or not they want to be good. Alabama, duh. LSU, well, A&M, well, yeah, they're good. Maybe, we don't know. Mississippi State, garbage. There's just, it's not there this year. It's not there. So I think the Big Ten is the number 1 conference in the country. I still think Ohio State's going to win it. I think the ACC is almost just as good as the SEC right now. I really do. I think Louisville could hang with Alabama. I think that Florida State could hang with Alabama. I think Clemson could give it a damn good shot to hang with Alabama. And UNC's not a slouch. Miami's not a slouch. There are some teams in the ACC right now that aren't that bad. So I think they're up there with the SEC. I'll put the SEC in front of them for now. But the ACC is well behind them, if not tied for second. And then I'm probably going to say maybe the Big 12 and then the Big 10. I mean, they're just kind of whatever. I think that Clemson, I'm still going to stick with Clemson to win the ACC. We shall see. Bama to win the SEC, Oklahoma to win the Big 12, and Stanford to win the Pac-12. That's my conference ramble. Let's get into week 5. All right, this weekend is going to be huge. We have top 10 matchups all across the board, okay? Friday night, we open up Stanford against Washington. Washington has been a real sleeper this year. They're good, but how good? We haven't really seen, they score points, but they haven't played anybody. Stanford's going to be their big test. I'm going to stick with my boy McCaffrey, and I'm going to stick with Stanford. I think it's going to be close until the end. I think that Stanford is going to be able to hang above them and take it down to the finish line. I'm just going to take Stanford. Texas, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's kind of fallen off a little bit this year. They've taken some hard losses and they've lost here and there. Texas, after the first game of the season, we thought Texas was going to be one of the best teams in the Big 12, if not the best team in the Big 12. And then they had a little stumble. Can Oklahoma State bounce back? I don't think so. I think Texas is pissed, and I think that they still feel like they're the best team in the Big 12 and that they're there to prove something. So I'm going to take Texas. Tennessee, Georgia. Now, you'd have told me at the beginning of the year that these, if you'd have looked at the schedule at the beginning of the year, I'd take Georgia. On paper, you got Nick Chubb. He's a star. Against Josh Dobbs in Tennessee. Let me tell you something. After watching these two teams play over and over repeatedly, and especially Tennessee coming off a win against Virginia Tech, Tennessee coming off a huge win against Florida, Derek Barnett, the defensive end for Tennessee, is a monster. Okay, this dude is a beast. Easily a top 3 round draft pick in the draft. I'm going to take Tennessee. I think that they're rolling right now. They got the confidence. They got the momentum. And Josh Dobbs, after the second half of last week, was playing lights out. So I'm going to take Tennessee. Florida, an ACC showdown. Florida State, UNC. It's huge for Florida State because they've already got one conference loss. They can't afford another one right now. Okay, UNC is 3-1 right now, which is what it is. Their loss was to Georgia. It's not conference, but it's still going to be huge coming down into the Coastal because the Coastal is wide open right now. Okay, it's a wide open race. I'm going to take Florida State just because of Mr. Cook, because he's a beast, and Florida State. If there's any team in the country that can lose and bounce back, it's Florida State. They have too much talent. They have too much drive, and Jimbo Fisher is a great coach, and that's just where that lies. California, Utah. Utah is going to take this one in the end. Expect some points to be thrown, okay? Because California can score some points. Oklahoma, TCU. Oklahoma's not ranked. TCU is. I think TCU is down this year. They're wearing some new helmets. They're pretty badass. I'm going to roll with Oklahoma. Oklahoma's going to walk in. They're going to win this ball game. They got, they're out. They're done as far as the playoffs go. There's probably no way in hell unless, the earth spins upside down and some crazy everything nuts happens. They're not going to make the playoffs. But they still have something to prove, and they can still win the Big 12. They're not out of it yet. I'll take Oklahoma over TCU. Miami, Georgia Tech. Once again, here we go. A coastal matchup. It's big. Miami's undefeated in the top 15 for the first time in a long time. Miami has to win this ball game, okay? They've still got to play Florida State, which is going to be a huge game. And Georgia Tech's starting to slide a little bit, okay? Coming off that loss to Clemson, I don't know if they can afford another loss, because then that's going to might be the end of them as far as their shot at the Coastal. Arizona State, USC. I like the Trojans. I kind of picked them a couple times, and after watching them play, Arizona State can just score too many points. I'm going to roll with the Sun Devils. Now, the big games of the weekend. We have Wisconsin and Michigan. Okay, Wisconsin was not ranked coming into this year. They were supposed to be a big dog powerhouse, or they were it was supposed to be a rebuilding year, and then they're rolling right now. Harbaugh, however, at Michigan, he's got the Wolverines playing some ball. I've watched them play. I think it's not the same up there in Ann Arbor. There's a different life since Jim Harbaugh's got there. I'm going to take Michigan in this as a close one, but Michigan to win. And then the game that everybody is talking about right now. Mr. Frontrunner of the Heisman, Lamar Jackson, then also another Heisman candidate, Deshaun Watson. Probably two of the top dual-threat quarterbacks in college football right now, squaring off. Huge in Clemson, which is big for them. I'm going to pick Clemson to win this. Only reason being they're at home and they have Dabo Swinney. Dabo always seems to have Clemson dialed up for the big games, except maybe against South Carolina, but those days are long gone. South Carolina ain't going to mess with Clemson for a long time. I'm going to take Clemson in a close game. If Lamar Jackson can be held even a little bit, Clemson's going to win it. I think it's going to be a shootout. But the way Clemson's defense is playing, they are so fast that if anybody in the ACC can beat Louisville, it's going to be Clemson. I'm going to take Clemson. I know everybody's going, yeah, right. Well, I'm rolling with them. 29-15 this year on my picks. I had a couple of them that, it is what it is. But that's week 5. Everybody have a great, safe weekend, and we'll catch you back here for week 6.